Good morning and welcome to yet another interesting episode of the Camnet Breakfast Thursday edition, Governance and Policy as usual with me, Patrick Soko, and Shalon Kalimbula. Welcome.
Indeed, welcome to it. This is the Thursday edition of the Breakfast Show. Throwback Thursday, Patrick. I don't know, is the outfit a throwback or something like that?
I don't know. We should be doing a throwback outfit.
Exactly, we should be doing a throwback outfit, and it would be interesting to see you in those clothes that you were wearing, especially before you gained that pot belly, before your thighs became a bit bigger, before your head became a potato, things like that. But anyways, this is it. You are watching The Breakfast Show. My name is Sharon Kalimbula, and we have very interesting guests coming on the show. He's still shocked. That's what happens.
Interesting.
When you've changed so much and you're failing to throw back, you're thinking, let's take a throwback. That ex of mine will remember me and she may start following me. After you've changed, so maybe she's still thinking, is this Patrick? Is this, things like that. But I hear
no comment. Just now, we go straight into the health corner so that we can get to hear what the doctors have prepared for us. As usual, interesting topic of discussions, and we just hope you too, our dear viewers, can suggest some of the issues you'd want the doctors to talk about. Stay tuned.
Good morning. My name is Songiwe Chiluba from the Medical Women Association of Zambia, and we continue our topic for this week. Remember, our topic is sickle cell disease, and today we'll be looking at the signs and symptoms of sickle cell disease as well as the triggers of the disease. So signs and symptoms of sickle cell disease can be divided into the acute symptoms. These are the symptoms that usually take the patient to the hospital, as well as the chronic conditions that are usually seen throughout the patient's life. Okay, so remember, we're talking about sickle cell disease, which is, like we said from our last episode, it is an inherited disease that affects the red blood cells. It affects the hemoglobin that is found in the red blood cells, leading to production of an abnormal hemoglobin molecule. And this abnormal hemoglobin molecule is the one that is going to lead to the condition that is called sickle cell disease. Okay, so like I said, the signs and symptoms of sickle cell can either be the acute ones that usually lead the patient to the hospital, as well as the chronic signs and symptoms. So we'll start with the chronic signs and symptoms, which are seen throughout the patient's life. So firstly, these are patients that usually have yellowish looking eyes, and this is termed as jaundice. Okay? Apart from that, they also have chronic anemia, and symptoms of anemia that they're going to have include headache, fatigue, okay, as well as dizziness. Okay. Apart from this, they can also have what is called failure to thrive, and this can be seen in children that might not be developing at the same rate as other children in the same age group. Okay. Then, as for the acute category, the symptoms in the acute setting are usually divided into various crises that the patient can present with. Okay, and these include the vaso-occlusive crisis, which is the most common. Then there is the splenic sequestration crisis, the aplastic crisis, as well as the hemolytic crisis. So we're going to go through these one by one. So we'll start with the vaso-occlusive crisis, which is the most common. So vaso-occlusive crisis occurs when these sickled red blood cells block blood vessels. Okay, so remember, in sickle cell disease, the problem is the structure of the hemoglobin. So this abnormal hemoglobin, in certain circumstances, is going to lead to a change in the structure of the red blood cells, and they become sickle-shaped. Then because they have this abnormal shape, they're going to start clumping up together and start blocking small blood vessels that are found within our bodies. And when these blood vessels are closed up or clogged, this is what is going to lead to the vaso-occlusive crisis. Okay, so vaso-occlusive crisis, usually the patients who present in severe pain. And the pain is usually bone pain because the common site for the vaso-occlusive crisis is in the bones. All right. Then apart from the vaso-occlusive crisis, these patients can also present with what is called aplastic crisis. So for the aplastic crisis, what happens is that these patients get an infection by a virus which is called parvovirus B19. So this virus, once contracted, goes to the bone marrow and leads to a reduction in the production of the red blood cells. Okay? And then because there's a reduction in the production of red blood cells, these patients are going to present with severe anemia. Okay? And the third crisis is what is called the splenic sequestration crisis. So in this case, blood starts to pool in the spleen, meaning a lot of blood starts to accumulate within the spleen. So because the blood is going to accumulate within the spleen within a short period of time, this is going to lead to symptoms of anemia, which, like I said, include headache, fatigue, dizziness. But then apart from this, is also going to present with symptoms of shock. Okay, which can be quite severe and might actually lead to the death of a patient. So symptoms of shock would include a deterioration in the level of consciousness, meaning this patient might suddenly become drowsy or lose consciousness. Apart from that, they might also present with a reduction in the blood pressure, and if you are to check the patient's pulse, okay, it also becomes very high. Okay, so this is yet another crisis in which a patient might present with in the acute setting. Apart from that, they can also present in a hyperhemolytic crisis. So during a hyperhemolytic crisis is an increased breakdown of the red blood cells. Okay, and then because there's an increased breakdown of the red blood cells, this patient again is going to present with anemia, because anemia results from the reduction in the number of red blood cells in this case. Okay, so these crises do not occur in isolation. It's possible to have one patient presenting with multiple of these crises or multiple symptoms from these 4 groups of crises, in which case it's going to be called a mixed presentation or a mixed crisis. Okay? So commonly patients with sickle cell disease are going to present with signs and symptoms around the age 3 to 6 months. They'll present with their initial symptoms. Okay? Statistics actually show that about 30% of children are going to present with symptoms of sickle cell disease around the age of 3 months. While by the age of 6 years, most of these, about 90% of the children with sickle cell disease would have already presented with symptoms. And most commonly, the crisis that they're going to present with, or the symptoms that they're going to present with, are symptoms of the vaso-occlusive crisis. And there's a characteristic way in which they present, which is called the hand and foot syndrome. So this hand and foot syndrome is what is medically termed as dactylitis. This is where the patient will present with swelling of the fingers as well as the toes. Okay, this is because there's a vaso-occlusive crisis that's taking place in their fingers and in their toes. Okay, and when this happens, this is going to lead to swelling and severe pain in these regions of the body. Okay, so now we might also want to know the triggers. What are the things that would possibly lead a child to present with these signs and symptoms? So these triggers include things like dehydration. Okay, so there's dehydration, there's also acidosis, okay, as well as infections. So these infections could be any infections. It could be malaria, it could be a viral infection, it could be a bacterial infection. As long as there's an infection, it has a possibility of triggering these crises or the signs and symptoms of sickle cell disease. So we've come to the end of the segment of our program for today. Remember, this week we're discussing sickle cell disease, and we will continue with it tomorrow. My name is Songiwe Teresa Chilua, and I'm from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia.
Welcome back. Those are the, what is that?
Hair of corn.
I I don't know why, Patrick. I think I spoke a lot about you, so you
Yes.
actually done something to my mind. It has
Yes.
just
I'm
switched
doing the
off.
do as I say. And I was saying, forget. There you have it. Quite an interesting discussion from the doctor there. We were talking about sickle cell anemia, Sharon. Quite an interesting subject. And a number of issues have been brought out. And we saw how you can, the symptoms, how you can.
No, when
yes.
you're about to get an attack. I think I've had a number of colleagues. One of them is late. Two actually. They are late because they succumbed to the condition. Yeah. So I actually very, very much know and understand what these people go through, the pain that they experience. I think the first friend I had who had sickle cell anemia is late also. I think we're just in grade 9, 8 and 9. And especially when it's cold, it would be something else. Then the other one, I think it was in college. You know, she had a hard time actually even just completing a full cycle over a year attending class. You know, she would be in and out of the hospital because of these same attacks regarding sickle cell until she succumbed to it. We had even graduated, I think, from college. So I very much understand a little bit more about what this sickle cell anemia is about. But you too, our viewers, can still go back to this broadcast and watch and try to understand. Seek medical attention early, at least, because people get to know these things while the child is really, really young, so that you know and understand how you're supposed to take care of your child in an event that they are in such a situation or they find themselves with that conditions. Others are carriers, others are sicklers. So, yeah. That's about it.
Yeah, quite an interesting topic there. So we just hope that you manage to get familiar with the subject, and you can do that at your own time as well by following our Facebook page, Camnet TV Zambia, and we have also equally gone viral on socials. You can now find us on all the social media networks, and as Camnet, we are just trying to be everywhere when it comes to social media, Sharon. And
not just another channel, indeed. You can check out our Twitter, our TikTok accounts, our Instagram accounts, our Facebook, YouTube as well, so that you can just, you have no excuse leisurely for not watching any of our programs, for not getting abreast with any of the things we are doing here. If you're on TikTok, you can just go there, Camnet TV Zambia, then you find us there. If you're on Facebook, as usual, you've always been watching us. Thank you so much. You've always used this platform to get to us, to send us those messages, just to interact with us. And now we are going a step further. We are on Twitter as well. So follow us. Is it follow us on Twitter?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
as well. You know, I'm reminded by Kaluba. You know, Kaluba's voice. She was telling me it's a handle.
Who's Kaluba? Who is Kaluba?
Yeah, one of us. Kaluba is one of us. Very dramatic. But anyways, let's look at how the quarter is faring. Quite interesting today, Patrick. As of yesterday, people were very, very excited. I'm not sure if at all those figures are reflective of the dollars they had in their accounts. However, the United States dollars is at 16.17 while other bureaus it was just 16 flat. So it's trading within that range.
It's back to the same range.
You know, selling at 16.49 in Gwei. The euro is at 18.89 in Gwei and selling at 19.26 Gwei. The Great British Pound is at 19.29 in Gwei and selling at 19.67 Gwei, while the South African Rand keeps on. Is at 0.97 Gwei and selling at 0.98 Gwei.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that is an indicative one. That one, the rand will tell you a clear one.
Our quarter is appreciated.
Yes.
Because yesterday it was at 1 quarter flat.
Yes.
And today it's 0 point something.
Yes, so it may go at 5. Oh, that would be exciting news.
There's a notion, Patrick, on social media. I like to go to social media sometimes, just see and check the.
We are socialized beings.
Yes, to just see what is happening, what's trending. And one of the catch phrase or the catch issues was that the kwacha is appreciating because of the dollars that were splashed during my hometown. What do you think about that?
Yeah, basically, I think there's no doubt that it could also be a contributing factor. This is because that event was attended by various citizens across the country and people beyond Zambia. So when they were coming in with dollars.
Should we have more of such events?
We need
help
to.
us?
Well, we need to. We need to. This is because those who were coming with dollars, they were helping us inject more dollars in the economy, and that helped us stabilize the kwacha. Our currency usually underperforms on account of we import more and do less exports. So we inject more dollar into the economy. We inject less dollars into the economy because we spend more dollars out. So that has been the problem. That's the problem that still exists. So even ultimately, there is actually hope that with good economic fundamentals, the kwacha can actually perform within the good ranges, even as low as 10 kwacha. It is possible. How does it become possible? This is in the sense that if you are able to maximize production in the manufacturing sector, because we are maximized on non-traditional exports, because our traditional exports mostly largely would depend on copper exports. So you discover that they can only influence the exchange rate at a certain level, but they could not overall help us in terms of having a stable currency. But imagine if we maximize on non-traditional exports, or we maximize our exports to other countries, Sharon, we'll be injecting more dollars into the economy. So that event also contributed because, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I'm aware, you too, Sharon, we were informed that there were people, friends of the Ndambos, coming from abroad.
My prayer is that none of the 2.8 are listening to you right now, because they'll treat you the way you're supposed to be treated, because according to them, that had nothing to do with the appreciation of the kwacha.
Yes, no.
Policies the government is putting in.
Yes, the government is putting in measures. That is true, Sharon. But again, it's about every other activity that can contribute to that.
Yeah.
As long as there's that exchange of money, and if you follow that event, the dollars that were being exchanged to that event,
That we are flying.
so more people were at the bureaus to change their dollars, doing transactions. No, I got a $1,000. I want to change it into kwacha. Yes, yeah, those arrangements as well. Yeah, but overall, we understand that the Zambian government is implementing tight economic measures that are also in tandem.
The diaspora conference that is in Livingston, maybe it has contributed.
So there are a lot of things that are at play in terms of this this minor change or sudden change. Like you were saying, Sharon, the diaspora conference is all about also these people beyond who have been outside the country coming together, or also bringing resources, identifying projects they can undertake, identifying opportunities and how they can cooperate and participate in the local economy. All those things amount to goodwill. Then this administration has also been the baby of goodwill from developed nations. We've seen the European Union, the American government, and other embassies. There's been goodwill in that they anticipate that with the current economic fundamentals, they feel that it is necessary to invest in this country. So what that does is that it are willing to enhance investments in the country. We saw just recently when the Zambia Breweries was equally injecting a lot of money into its investments. It's quite a huge investment, even as it stands. But you can imagine it boosting capacity of its investment through enhanced the capital injection. Sharon, that's quite a goodwill that even other companies are emulating. Indeed. And we are seeing that there is also conversation around the mines, KCM, Mopani, and those people are equally trying to get things right. And we saw First Quantum making profits, declaring dividends, and being amongst also the few entities that have been responsible in terms of paying taxes and as well as being responsible to whatever they are doing in their mining activities. So we see them making profits, we see them making a projection of investments. It tells you that the future is bright, but it's about how Zambia now capitalizes on that.
Indeed, Patrick, well elaborated there. You should be an economist, but this industry actually receives a lot of backlash as well, because they think they know figures, but in the actual sense they don't really know figures. Patrick, the Shipolo Polo girls, the Copper Queens, are playing football, and it's under a tournament. Is it a World Africa Cup?
It is the Africa Women's Cup of Nations. It is the female version of the...
something, they call it something like that?
Alcon.
Alcon, exactly.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Alcon, yes. It is. It was quite. I don't know if Isaac has some highlights or the fixture to just show us what was happening there, because it was quite an interesting match to watch, Sharon. We did not do very fine when we were playing against Cameroon. For me, I suspect quite a number of issues in that match that we played faced against Cameroon, because for example, we had 4 minutes of added time the first match we played against Cameroon, but they ended up playing 8 minutes of added time. And the Cameroon nearly scored us. They even scored an offside, and for me, I suspect that there was actually collusion, and these people just didn't want the Copper Queens to just win, because that same encounter, you understand that being the home ground and everything, okay, the indomitable Lioness were actually on fire on that encounter, and we had that challenge. So we get that clip, Sharon, of yesterday's encounter, where we had Zambia playing against Tunisia. This is the game the Copper Queens have played very good, according to the analysis that was given by Amos Lungu. So let's just testify to that.
A win for them.
Kabachi tries this one from long. We're now got a chance now to shoot. Ball sent to the right hand side, and now it's been shot feebly. Right-footed one will be drilled into the far post, and looking for space to shoot here from this angle. Chanda also has a space. Chanda! And a lovely play, and this time it's only here. Lifts the ball to the far post again. It's Nali for her. She was able to deal with no pressure on the ball as well. Oh. And this time Ochomba, and she plus wide. Right hand side, another lovely ball into the ball. Chomba! And that was a chance.
That was a good beat. That was a good beat though.
Hit it deep into the half of the Tunisia.
Out in a rightful way, because that would have surprised the Tunisia team.
Drills the ball back in, and this time it is Lumu.
I think this is a really, really dangerous position if they can hit the target. You can see the
but I tell you what, this is the quality we're talking about. The decision whether the goalkeeper was impeded there, was she going to be an offside?
I don't know what to say right now. This is what you want to see from your goalkeeper. This is that they're just absorbing all the pressure from the Zambia team.
Maintain that performance. Tembo with the long ball in here, and this time it's an opportunity, and it has been hit in.
I told you.
And they have been waiting for this moment, and they seem to have gotten it eventually.
I told you, never count this team out until the referee say it's game over. Then we fight to the end. What a goal! What a goal! Look at that.
Team that qualified and made it to the Olympic Games, the team.
Well, there you have it.
That was it. The women folk there making us proud as usual.
Yes.
And that's the more reason why I always side with them. You have no arguments on this. They always say, come on, read those statistics there. What are they saying? What can you tell us?
Quite an interesting argument there. I hope the person even talking to me didn't even manage to even watch the 3 minutes of the game. But however, this is how it stands. We saw Zambia played the first game against Cameroon. They played to a goalless draw. And we saw them playing up against Tunisia yesterday, and they managed to beat Tunisia by 1-0. And we also had an opportunity through Mapepa. She had scored a free kick, a set piece, Sharon, but it was ruled out on account that there was interference by one of the strikers or of the attackers from the Copper Queens. And we also saw the match between Togo and Cameroon, who are the hosts. Cameroon actually were held to a 1-0 draw by Togo. So this means that technically Zambia is on top of the group there with, let's see how it goes. We have Zambia with 4 points, Tunisia 3 points, then we have Cameroon with 2 points, and Togo have 1 point. That's how it stands, and we have a chance of progressing to the next level as the Copper Queens, because we see them a draw against Togo would mean us going. But I don't think we need to aim less. We need to just make sure that we win the next match and move to 7 points. This means that if Tunisia are to win, they'll only manage to salvage 6 points, and they'll finish second in the group. Then that's how it is. So probably, but if we withdraw, it means that if Tunisia also draws, Zambia may still progress with 5 points to lead the group. And while if Tunisia manages to win, it means they will have 6 points, and if Zambia draws, it will remain on 5 points. So we still have Cameroon, who still have a chance there. They have 2 points, and next win against Tunisia may take them to actually 5 points. But it won't be easy, because I don't think Tunisia would give up the 3 points, given that they already have points. Then they just need an extra point to just be stable and progress to the next round. And if the girls manage to do better, Sharon, you know what that means? Well, it will be a shame to the male folk, because yes, yes, it will be, because if you see, we've been struggling to even qualify. Later on, we'll be talking about us progressing to the next level. That's if we manage to qualify, because qualifying is another thing as well. Managing to finish beyond the top groups, the group level, is also another thing. So those are issues that we'll be talking about.
All right, Patrick, let's zoom in some of the stories that made headlines yesterday. The Drug Enforcement Commission has charged and arrested former Patriotic Front Secretary General Davis Mwila for being in possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. And the lawyers representing Mr. Mwila confirmed with the media shortly after the client's release that he was being questioned in connection with a source of campaign funds during the 2021 general elections. Patrick Soko. Meanwhile, Mr. Mwila, who has been released on bond by the DEC,
by the DEC, what?
Let's look at this clip.
Pounced on by law enforcement agencies, former opposition Patriotic Front Secretary General Davis Mwila has not been spared, as he has also joined the queue of those being summoned and arrested. With a walk of confidence, Mr. Mwila was charged and arrested for being in possession of property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime when he appeared for questioning before the Drug Enforcement Commission. Wednesday morning, Mr. Mwila's legal counsel confirmed the development to the media.
Sometime in 2017, government introduced what was termed as the political party bill. That political party bill was, among others, intended to make provision for political parties to disclose their source of funds on an annual basis. To the best of my recollection, I think it was Section 40 of that bill. That bill collapsed. Why it collapsed, I believe my guess is as good as yours. So, fast forward, we find ourselves in a situation where the commission has created a predicament for itself. So after we went to court regarding the source of funds, they come up with the charge of being in possession of what they term as a profit of crime, which is obviously an afterthought.
Earlier this year, the Patriotic Front Party had rushed to the Lusaka High Court, seeking the court's intervention to stop the Drug Enforcement Commission from further intimidating and illegally questioning them so that they can disclose their source of campaign funds in the just ended 12 August 2021 general elections. The party wanted the court to determine whether the Drug Enforcement Commission has got the constitutional or statutory mandate to compel it to disclose its source of funding used in the campaigns. And speaking to the media earlier after his release on bond, Mr. Mwila said the party will not disclose the source of the election campaign funds.
No one will disclose the source of funding because as a political party we are not obliged. They can go to heaven, wherever they will go will not disclose. Because this is abuse of the law. Are they investigating UPND, where they got the money, where they got the vehicles? Are they investigating Socialist Party? So they are contradicting themselves. So it will not go anywhere. Yes. We are very strong and they can't intimidate us.
As if the questioning before the Drug Enforcement Commission was not enough, Mr. Mwila was again summoned to appear before a joint investigation team at the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security, where a statement was recorded in relation to deal with a land issue allegedly believed to belong to the Zambia National Service. Meanwhile, former Lands Minister Jean Kapata also appeared before the said joint investigation team in relation to deal with the said allegedly land. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News. He failed to appear before the Lusaka's Magistrate Court Wednesday morning as the court was informed that he is unwell and currently admitted at Midlands Hospital. Former Defence Minister Geoffrey Mwamba is said to be experiencing chest pain. This is according to information given to the court by his surety. The outspoken opposition Patriotic Front member, who is currently facing 24 counts of money laundering, concealing property suspected to be proceeds of crime, among other charges, was scheduled this morning to appear before the courts of law for his possible plea. However, when the matter was called, his defense counsel Bonaventure Mutale informed Magistrate Ngobola that the accused was unable to make it before court, thereby applying that the case be adjourned to a later date. Recently arrested by the Anti-Corruption Commission, Mr. Mwamba is accused of being in possession of the said property, of being proceeds of crime, and conflict of interest involving millions of kwachas and thousands of dollars respectively. He is said to have committed the offences the time he was then Defence Minister, and it is alleged that between 2012 and 2013 he failed to disclose his interest in writing of the 3 Zambia Army contracts and 5 Zambia Air Force contracts that were awarded Cozon Global Limited by the Ministry of Defence. It is alleged that the accused person had interest in the same company. Among the 24 counts, the 8 counts that Mr. Mwamba is facing before court of conflict of interest are contrary to Section 28 as read with subsection 3 of the Anti-Corruption Act No. 3 of 2012. The matter comes up on the 8th of July 2022. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Apples and bananas. Working, waiting, this what you've been praying for. Oh, we testify, we celebrate.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay
We
tuned.
testify, we celebrate. For all you've done, Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify, we celebrate. Oh, Lord, we give you all the praise.
Welcome back. You are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show with me, Patrick Soko, and my co-host, Shalom Kalimbula. We were zooming in some stories that were trending in the main news before we took that break. Other stories that have been trending include that involving GBM, where he failed to appear before the court. And we also zoomed the story where Mr. Mwira was summoned and arrested by the Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC. We also saw another quite interesting stories from the courts and pertaining to legal matters pertaining to the NDC and Savoy Imbwela. She claims that they will take a legal route. This is because Mr. Akafumba has continued to destabilize the party, according to her allegations, and she's been trying to report him to law enforcement wings. Sharon.
Indeed, Patrick, very interesting stories there, but we will delve into those stories more after we have our second guest, where we will be discussing issues to do with governance and politics. For now, though, we have been joined by an executive director for Center for Zero Waste, who is Mr. Billy Lombe. Hoping that I'm doing that correctly.
You are very much correct.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. We are talking issues to do with climate change, how best it can be curtailed, and therefore he is on set and we'll ask him a couple of questions. It's very late though, but it's never too late. We'll talk about something that you're going to use as a takeaway and how we can tackle issues to do with climate change. And coming from an organization that talks about zero waste. How do you think we're going to achieve that? There's so much waste generated out here. And what kind of waste are you focusing on?
Specifically, our organization, we don't just work around waste management issues, but we also work around climate actions, different climate actions, and policy and advocacy. So part of our work is to ensure that governments, and local authorities, institutions, individuals put up reduction measures or take actions that will help to reduce in terms of waste reduction and diversion. So that's what we usually do, and also we're working with a couple of municipalities that we are supporting And I would like to mention also that recently we entered into a MOU partnership with the Chipata City Council, where we have a long-term project running, also with a German municipality, in terms of putting measures, and also in terms of also around the areas of circular economy. No?
You said which municipality?
Chipata City Council.
The other one?
And German municipalities, which is called the City of Domegan.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was looking around trying to zoom. Say, okay, is that in Zambia?
No, it's in Germany. So this is just a partnership to ensure that two cities work together around sustainability issues, and the organization was supporting technical, in terms of providing technical support, and also to ensure that we have more activities that promote circular economy. You know, circularity is a new term that people are now pushing to ensure that whatever waste we generate, we don't just take it to the dump site, but we make use of it, create more jobs. And that's why our organization is working. We're also working closely supporting the waste speakers. And then thanks to Camnet has been covering that for the last year when we had our first national symposium for waste speakers and plastic pollution, including this year, we had our second symposium. And so that is also part of our work that we've been doing, to ensure that more jobs are created in the waste sector, rather than just taking waste to the dump site or burning it.
We understand that there are some of areas where you have projects in Zambia, but what are those areas, and what are specific projects are you working on as an organization to help address these issues pertaining to waste management as well as climate change and the environment?
Specifically, I also have our other project which should be running in Serenje district called Ukuprisha Efisoso. So Ukuprisha Efisoso, as I say, it's around waste diversion and reduction. So we are piloting it there, and we'll be replicating it in Chipata also, and in other areas. And so far, part of the new project that I mentioned, the partnership, the City of Domegan from German and the City of Chipata, will have a whole lot of sustainability, projects that will be running, whether from waste management to climate, projects, adaptation projects, and to ensure that the issue of mobility is part of ensuring that sustainable cities or green cities. It's not everyone should be driving, in the city. We need to encourage bike, people to walk and bike. And it's important that infrastructure is there for that to happen. And just recently I was in Rwanda, where we had organized with I was part of organizing committee to put up a conference for the African youth in preparing for COP27. We brought together young Africans, and they came up actually with a communique which will also make available to the studio. To prepare for the COP27. COP27 will happen in Africa, in Egypt. So we want to mobilize as many African youth as possible to participate in what we call the African COP. Because last year, it was in Scotland. Now this year is in Africa. Like what we did in 2011 with other African young people, youths, we mobilized a lot of numbers of African youth to participate in the Durban conference, which was in 2011, and we did a caravan move where we transversed through like 7 countries and collected petitions, handed them to Desmond Tutu and the rest of the world leaders. So these are some of the moments that are happening this year, just in touching on climate change issues, and also to ensure that Africa, gets the resources, Africa gets the financing, is available to adapt to climate change. Because most of the times Africa actually is, when you look at the emission levels from Africa, they are insignificant. So it's important that the polluters, big polluters, they pay for that. That is now there's a lot of issues to say, ensure that there's availability of financing, of which very few African countries have accessed the GCF, the global, the global climate fund. It has been very not easy to get that money, because there's stringent measures, and also in terms of other countries who've committed about 100 billion towards the GCF fund to support developing countries. They haven't yet. So it's just something on the paper. So also we are calling to ensure that those countries who've committed, they put the money and money, that the money is available for developing countries to access.
Mr. Lambe, what is the link between West and climate change?
Mostly when you look at it, that's why there's the issue that the issues of climate justice issues and so many other issues. We are suffering the brunt of climate change, and it has been caused by developed countries because of the huge, industries that they have, the way of their life, their lifestyles, and things like that, and that has really impacted our climate. So it's very important that the big polluters, they pay for that. Even when you look at Zambia's emission levels, they're very insignificant. And it's good that now we are saying there's what we call the NDCs, actually determined contributions. So when you look at NDCs, countries have committed themselves. Like, this is a strategy in terms of how to reduce on emissions from different sectors, waste management, agriculture, and just various sectors. So it's important that as much as we are not big polluters, but we've also committed ourselves, even Zambia, to say this is how we reduce on emissions. But as we are also leading that path, it's important that polluters, they pay for it. And also that's why countries, especially in Africa, we're calling for support, financing, climate financing is very important because we need to adapt. Adaptation, mostly when you look at developing countries, especially Africa, it's on the issue of adaptation, not on mitigation. Because adaptation is, you have the problem, the existing problem, and how are you going to survive with the existing problem? That's why you put measures in place. For example, I'll just give you a practical example. We need to teach our kids in schools, they have a curriculum to teach them on how to learn how to swim. In flood-prone areas, if they can swim to the next tree and hold on to it, they can come and rescue them.
I think my friend and I had a conversation last week. Yes. She had gone out for a chill, and then there was this swimming pools, and she couldn't swim. So she was like, I'm very embarrassed. I don't know why I'm buying these outfits for the swimming pool when I can't. Then I was like, no, actually, you should learn the skill for survival. For survival, especially with existing climate, climate change.
Yeah, it's important to learn. And those are simple things that we can introduce in schools. Our curriculum needs to change to ensure that it talks, especially to ensure that we build resilient communities. The communities, they need to be more resilient to climate change, so that even when all these things, hazards, climatical hazards are there, at least they can survive. Yes, so there are so many other examples I can give. I think these are simple, practical examples. We talk of tree planting. So education and awareness is part of adaptation. Also, people need to know. And I always emphasize, and that's what we also emphasize in Rwanda, Kigali, that during the African Youth Climate Justice Conference, that it's important to recognize indigenous knowledge. Indigenous knowledge is very important to adapt to climate change, because we cannot run away from that. I think it's very, very important that we ensure that indigenous knowledge is passed to the younger generations, and there's usually a huge gap now, which is a very worrying situation.
With the proposals that children actually need to be inculcated to this world of bracing themselves for eventualities that come with climate change and the involvement of government, how much are you doing to ensure that government is put in the know, they begin to adopt these proposals that you're putting forth, or schools begin to to accept these proposals, or just how much political will is there really for such interventions?
I'll say yes, there is part of political will, but we are not doing much, I feel we can do better than what we are doing now. And especially that also to learn from other countries what they've done. So it's important that we move from talking to action. Especially when, I'll just touch a little bit about when it comes to the forest, the issues of deforestation. Zambia is amongst the highest deforested countries in the world. So it's sad to be on the top 20 list, despite having a huge land cover with indigenous forests. So we have to do a lot. I know we've always put the blame on the charcoal, banners.
Yes.
But we haven't done, even including the government, they haven't introduced alternatives. They haven't done much in terms of giving our people alternatives. You cannot stop me specifically, I spend much of my time in the rural setup, in the far-flung areas, and also in Serenje district, where we've moved our headquarters. We are seeing these issues are happening. And what we're doing as an organization, we're helping the people who are charcoal burners, bringing them to work with us and to give them alternatives. That's the only solution we can do with deforestation. And most of the blame when it comes to deforestation, we are putting it on charcoal burners. We say, look, they're the ones finishing the trees. We are forgetting, actually, I'll mention this now, is that a number of industries, when you do spot check, even the smelters in Serenje district, they are using charcoal in the processing of in the processing plants, in the smelting plants for manganese, including so many other companies just near here. And I saw I saw there was a tweet just last week, I think, from a first lady, if I'm not. She tweeted, and I also retweeted about that. I mentioned, quoted her tweet. She saw trucks going to this company just here near Chibombo, with loads of charcoal.
So it's no longer about household usage.
It's now becoming
commercial,
industrial.
They are not using coal, but they are using charcoal as a source of in the processing plants.
How often do you even see coal trucks? Because back in the days it used to be very common,
Yes.
from southern province.
So now they found charcoal is cheaper ways of
than coal.
Yeah, they found it's a cheaper ways, and most of our rural people, they are being enticed into that because this is a big market for this, either smelting plants or maybe these companies, manufacturing companies, and this is really bad, and you put the blame on the charcoal burner. But you are not looking at the big fish.
You're not looking
even
at
agriculture expansion also contributes to that. So there are so many other issues that we haven't addressed. And I think the minister should stand up and talk about this, because this is a very serious issue. Should sit down with the companies that are enticing our people to take bags of charcoal to their companies, which is really, really sad. I think something needs to be done, and we should not take it very lightly, because these are the big culprits.
Mr. Lombe, before we let you go, we just want to also know what are some of the interventions that you'll be focusing on for this year.
This year specifically, as I said, we are also looking at the issue of for solutions. Actually, we'll be having another meeting towards the end of the year, hoping to have that meeting with the parliamentarians, as we've always had, the ZPCC, Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on Conservation. And also we want to have one specifically for the media, so that the media, at least they are, to build the capacity of the media around some of the 4 solutions to climate change, to even waste management, and any other interesting issues around zero waste. So I think the media should look out for that, to have a workshop around that, and also the parliamentarians, and also some of our brothers and sisters who are in the enforcement agencies like ZEMA and the rest. Of course, we've always been there together to work together to ensure that we push for what is the best for the country. And so those are the things that we are looking at most. And also there's COP27, so we are hoping to participate actively in COP27. As I said, we are part of the organizing team for African Youth Climate Justice Conference in Kigali, Rwanda, which ended just last week. And also, so those are some of the things that we are mainly looking at. And also, as I mentioned, the Chipata project, where we're opening our expanding there and opening new activities.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Billy Lombe, the Chief Executive Officer for the Center for Zero Waste. We hope you find time when we invite you for a lengthy interview, because I'm still seeing Sharon eager to ask you more questions.
Exactly.
But
I'm available for the next 2 weeks.
I'm available because that we don't usually have, when it comes to issues of climate change. Usually, when you're talking about that, you're just talking about planting trees.
It's fun,
but there's actually more to that, and also the ministry I think the other guest we had last time was like the ministry has not really gone deep into finding out exactly what these issues are. Most of the times they are talking about the trees, you know, even the name itself, green economy. You know, it's like they are just on one side.
And you know, when you talk about these things, also we talk it to amongst ourselves. That is why for us, we are there in the far-flung areas, just right there, not in the big city. We've been here before and we know why big issues are, how we need to address them.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lombe. Very, very interesting conversation. Let's take a breather. When we return, we have another guest on set as we continue talking about various issues affecting the country. Good morning.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
testify. We celebrate for all you've done, Lord. We give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate for all you've done, Lord. We give you all the praise.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, this is the right time for our second interview on the Camnet Breakfast Show, Thursday edition, governance and politics. And in the studio, we've been joined by another important guest of ours. He's not a new face to Camnet TV viewers. He is a political activist, Mr. Dante Saunders. He has been commenting on various national matters since inception, and he continues to give guidance on various pertinent national matters. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your program.
Thank you. And just to get the conversation going, Mr. Saunders, a number of political events have unfolded, and time and again we continue to come to you to just find your perspective regarding these various issues. We had quite a number of interventions that have emerged in the political fraternity. The prominent one was that of the president coming out to suggest that law enforcement agencies should be actually making sure that they do thorough investigations before they arrest people. And you, as have been advocating for a stiff fight against corruption. So we also want to get your perspective, how you think, if you think these apps that the president has have been doing enough to help him in the fight against corruption.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say that, the fight against corruption has never been easy, and even to run government at this particular point in time has never been easy at all for President HH. He's facing a lot of challenges, and he has numerous problems to solve. The fight against corruption, we all know that it's not only corruption that you're looking at now, but indeed that of the plunder of the wealth of this nation, which to me, that is very, very, very serious, and you need all hands on board. Now, taking over a government that has been highly polluted with the likes of party cadres and so on running the affairs of the nation, has not been an easy task. It's not been an easy task. But let's agree, we must agree, that at least the fight has begun. The fight has begun. And that is where we are now. The fight has begun against corruption. Our mindset as the people of Zambia has to change drastically. Because had we not taken the initiative together as a nation to remove a corrupt regime, today this country, we would have been captured by the PF government. There's no two ways about it. And everybody, I think I'm talking about the people that matter in life. They should know that we did that in time. Yes, there are a lot of people who will be arguing against the issue. It's selective. The issues are being very selective when you are arresting somebody. Yeah, that is not the case.
Why do you say so?
I'm saying that because some of the people who are leading the charge against fighting corruption were the very same people that left the system before, stating that I'm leaving the system because of corruption. Now we have a government that is trying to do something about the corruption. And the same people are leading the charge and saying, you are being selective. The fact is this, that, there is no way whatsoever that some people could have amassed so much wealth while they were in government. There's just never, it's just impossible to imagine. I look at myself, and I've always been, a man of hands-on, and I am where I am today. Whatever I have, I can account for it. Yes, I can account for it. There were times, I've come from a long background, from the colonial system up to the time of our independence and so on and so on and so on. I have been called up many times many times by the UNIP government. Can you explain how you bought a car? Nobody's saying that, you know, I couldn't buy a car, but I mean, there were times when I had, you know, a really smart car. So the government had a right, they had the right to question me over the issues. How did you manage to buy this car? Did you pay for the duties and so on and so on? That is their right. I never claimed that, oh, Kaunda is against me as that and so on. No, I didn't. People had the right to know how I bought a car. And that is where we are today. We are in the situation today, and nobody is saying that anyone is a thief. We only respect the law, and that the judge will make a decision, whether you stole or you haven't stolen. So for me, anybody that is brought to the, you know, to be questioned, you are being questioned on behalf of the people of this country. You must remember, it was the people that have voted people into office in order to improve their lifestyles. This is what this whole issue is about. But when you have a situation where you don't even want to account to the very people that elected you into office, we have a serious problem. And this is where our problem has always been in Zambia. We as a people, we've done the best we could. But today, it's we the people who are suffering the most. And a handful of people are trying to make as if they are from another planet altogether. They have a right to come and control you.
Okay, let's weigh in this issue where yesterday the Drug Enforcement Commission summoned Davis Wheeler, including the Joint Investigation Team, to talk about various issues. So yesterday Davis Wheeler mentioned to say each political party should be investigated as in their source of income or their source of wealth used during the elections, because that's what he was called for yesterday. Are you agreeable that all political parties should be investigated for their source of wealth during elections?
Yes, 100%. I would like that enshrined in the Constitution. Because we must follow the law. And the law must come from the Constitution. I'm in favor of that. And everybody is in favor of that. There's no argument about that particular issue.
Why did you
but there's no such a law.
Why wasn't the investigation started with the UPND?
Because there's no such a law in the Constitution that makes it mandatory that every political party must account for the monies.
So are you somehow agreeing to Davis Wheeler, who said we are being targeted? Because there is no law. He can simply claim to say there is no law that compels you to investigate all political parties. Why are you investigating the PF? Why are you not investigating Socialist Party, for example? Why are you not investigating the UPND, among other political parties that took part in the election?
When you look at the issues that PF has been, the way they've been running their affairs and getting the funds, you can see clearly, that there was a lot of, shall I say, funny moves in order for them to be where they are. There's no question about it.
Like the moves you're making.
No, there's no question about it. There's no political party that has got that kind of clout, or that kind of money that these people were dishing out. Come on, please. I mean, we know for a fact that was not monies that the party had. I was in PF, madam. I was in PF when we brought President Michael Sata into power. We didn't have that kind of money. We never had that kind of money. We simply didn't have it. And that's the bottom line. But the kind of money that these people are talking about, come on, there must be something not right.
That brings us to another issue, Mr. Saunders, the FIC report. This report is critical in terms of combating financial crimes, money laundering activities. Now, we have a new report, and we also saw the legal profession still remaining amongst the dominants of this report. And just your take on that, how can we ensure that this report is put to use and make sure that people who are found wanting are brought to book.
This is precisely what President HH is trying to do. That's precisely what he's trying to do. When you have the FIC report, where they are insisting that monies went missing there, they're not pointing a finger at you in particular. The monies went missing at this particular place. Surely you must have a right to investigate them. And we've never bothered about investigating people, even the Auditor General's report. Look, what happened in the last regime was total disaster. Total disaster when it comes to trying to clean the system up. So I'm in favor, really, to bring in very, very stiff laws. But it must go through Parliament. It must go through it must be enshrined in the Constitution. Very, very, very stiff laws. Because we are finding a situation where the current situation is now, like this year, that we still have at least about 30% of PF party cadres who are frustrating the efforts of government to try to get to the bottom of the story. But getting to the bottom of the story is a must for us as a people. Because we can see what corruption has done to us. We can see it. It's led development in our country. It's made us where we are today. We are down. We are rock bottom. And all we hear from opposition parties, all we hear of them is, HH. That's all we are hearing from them. But we are not hearing anything constructive coming out of them. So our mindset needs to be changed. You don't build a party by trying to, condemning HH. For me, I think that HH has taken very bold steps which will make him very unpopular. But it will also, at the same time, if we go through the pace that he's got, it will remove our hardships once and for all.
How much should the people of Zambia keep on listening to this administration refer to the issues now to the PF? Because this is what the story has been, to say, no, we are fixing the economy. How long should we wait for the economy to be fixed? How long should we listen to the UPND talk about the PF did this, the PF did that, the PF did that?
Oh, well, for as long as far as I'm concerned, we want development, and if there's no development, then we want answers from the current government. We want answers from them, and they must tell us. And, look, when UPND took over from the PF, little did they realize how badly the economy was damaged because of corruption. There was no way one could make a complete audit from outside. You had to be inside. Now that they're inside, they've now realized just how damaging this economy was. Because I remember on many, many, many occasions when we knew that the country was not financially stable, whatever the case may have been. We knew it. And I used to say to HH, honestly, do you really believe that, we should, or you should fight hard to take over this country? And he said, well, Dante, this is the only way we have to clean up if we are going to succeed. And coming into office was not going to be an easy thing. Because obviously you know exactly how the elections went. Mm-hmm. They made sure that they didn't want anybody to come in and find out how bad this mess was. This country was in a mess. And I take my hat off to HH for some of the issues that he has brought in. The way he's be tackling the issues.
Like increasing the salaries?
For members of parliament, Mr. Let's talk about members of parliament. The president has been preaching servant leadership. He is on record having saying that he has not been getting his salary so that it can go towards helping others. And he has preached this on several occasions. He swears in his appointees. He may be doing the same even today. But to the contrary, his members of parliament, when they went to parliament here, they were inagreeable. Well, the PF are also on record saying that it's not allowances that motivate us to go to parliament, but saving the people. But when that motion came where they needed to increase their allowances, they anonymously agreed, and even there was no sort of rejection to that, to increase their allowances. Was that an urgent matter, Mr. Saunders?
You know, you are talking about an issue which is very close to my heart. For a long time, I have been saying that to me, even gratuities should not be given to members of parliament. I mean, how can, you know, to me, the way I understand gratuity is that you are working here in Camnet. Yes, when your contract expires, you should get some form of gratuity. But for a public servant who's agreed to serve the nation, I didn't agree with gratuities. I said rather than give gratuities to members of parliament, you should give gratuities or better the salaries of those people who are councillors, because they are closer to the ground. But of course, you know, you can't win it all if these issues are not enshrined in the Constitution. I would say, and I've been saying this before, and I'll say it again today, if the members of parliament want gratuity, want a higher salary, and blah, 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 then surely they must give something back to the people. And the only thing that the people are asking for is the right to remove a member of parliament who fails to deliver in his constituency. That's all. If you, members of parliament, cannot have it both ways, they have the right to remove or to impeach a president. They have that right. But nobody has a right to remove a member of parliament. So there's something wrong in the Constitution. We, the people who voted for you, if we vote for you, madam, to go into parliament, it means I can't touch you, I can't move you, I can't do nothing to you. For 5 years, I've got to be lumbered with you.
Exactly.
You see?
So,
gratuities and all this, I don't mind paying people a good salary, but I must have the right to also say, Mana, you have failed in this department. I want you out. I want to put somebody inside. So it is, you know, when you put it in a constitution form, it's another big issue. You've got to go back to the political parties and blah, 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 blah. They have to change the manifesto, change the constitution. There's quite a lot of things that they have to do. But I think it's the only way forward for us. So I'm in total agreement that yes, whereas the president may have forfeited his salaries and blah, 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 I think members of parliament, you know, should also, in a way, look at that particular issue seriously about reducing the salaries. But we are coming from a background where, you know, many people took heavy loans in order for them to stand as a member of parliament. So, you know, some people have debts to pay. Some people have debts to pay. There's no question about it, you know. Okay, it's not a bank loan or something that gives you the powers, but, you know, you get loans from your friends here and there and blah, 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 and next thing you are a member of parliament. So that's where we are today.
Interesting. Now, let's also weigh in another aspect so far. How would you rate the performance of opposition political parties in the country in terms of providing credible checks and balances to the UPND administration?
Badly. Very badly indeed. You know, some of these political parties They forget the whole object of forming a political party. Some of them just go for the name Mr. President of a political party. And you think you can start a political party from the top going down. You can't. All political parties, if you are serious-minded, you start from the bottom. You work your way up. There's maybe one or two political parties that are working in opposition, that are doing a good job. The rest of them just, you hear of them only in the newspaper. But go to the markets, you don't even know them. People don't even know them. But they want to talk big. They want to be on your screen here. Talk big. Talk big.
Talk
That's
big.
all.
Talk big indeed.
Yes. Some of them, if you ask them, please, can you arrange for me to meet with your women wing or your youth wing or whatever the case may be? Ask them, where do they even have a award? They don't have it, but they want to talk big. This is the biggest problem.
Interesting, Mr. Dante. You've always been known to be very factual and very without taking sides.
Yes.
I want you to give your perspective insofar as this administration is concerned going forward as we conclude this interview.
I would like to encourage them to continue on the path and never to give up.
Include the no's and the yes.
What do you mean no's and yes?
The good things they've done and the bad things that they've done.
Well, I don't see anything bad that they've done, other than just a couple of people who were pulled in to answer some questions at the law enforcement agencies. To me, that was not bad. That is a very good sign that at least somebody is doing something about corruption in this country. Because if you remember the last time I think I talked to you at Camnet here, it was before the elections. I even, seriously thinking that we should bring in the death penalty for anybody who is found, plundering the wealth of the station. That should come into force. And I truly believe this. Maybe this is the only way we should go. But I know that I'm going to face a lot of objections coming, especially from my church, which is a Catholic church. They will certainly not like to see that. But I mean, this is Zambia. And the Pope is free to make rules and regulations in the church. But especially in Italy, you can do that. But here in Zambia, I think the Catholics deserve to live free.
So, but the president on the other side has been advocating that the death penalty should be abolished and completely now. So now you are suggesting otherwise. Can you just fire your perspective, Mr. Saunders?
Public resources.
I'm saying that if I had my way, this is what I would do. But this country is not run my way. It's run HH's way at the moment. The UPND is
the constitutional way.
The constitution way, and it doesn't mean that just because I'm, I like what HH is doing with regards to the economy, that I must agree with everything he says. No, I think we need, when you start a debate of this magnitude, I'll be on the side of, on the side of those people calling for the death sentence to remain in the Constitution. I'll be on that side. I'm not saying that I'm going to win, but I'm not saying I'm going to lose either. It's, for me, that decision will come from the people by way of a referendum. You must engage people on such a serious issue. You can't just get up one morning and say, I'm going to do this, like Chuluba done, it will be a Christian nation. That must come from the people. It must be okayed by way of a referendum. And then you got everybody on your side. Because right now, all the institutions that I can think of, the political parties, the churches, you know, something has to be done. We can't continue in the same way that we're continuing now like this. It's business as usual, corruption as usual. No, you know, that the people need protection. I need protection. And I also want closure. What happened to all these monies that the FIC is talking about? What happened to all these monies that the Auditor General is talking about? How is it possible that somebody can steal your cheap book or cheap ball pen and be sentenced for 3 years, 4 years hard labor when we know somebody has stolen billions of kwacha and he's driving a Mercedes-Benz beautifully in Cairo Road and he's left and he's not touched? How is this happening? We need closure on this particular issue. So the mindset of the people, you know, people like to, you know, when you are in leadership, you like to blame people on the ground. The people on the ground simply voted you into office to do a specific job, to return to, you get what belongs to Caesar will be given to Caesar, but don't forget the people on the ground that brought you into office. Because right now we are distorted. You know, why is it possible that we can't make money even on our contenders? All of these kind of issues, we know we really need closure. Why is it that I am where I am today? And I'm coming from a background, don't forget, from the colonial days. I know what the colonialists done, and I know how I made my money throughout the time during the Kaunda's time. You know, we were happy. We were not like how we are today, where families are divided. Something is wrong with our system. We've got to get back. You know, the people want to be led in a normal way. We are not asking for handouts. No Zambian that I know of wants to just sit and just be given money or given a new meal every day. We want to work for ourselves. I want to see my children work. I want to see my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. They must be in a position to work. But how can they work when there's no jobs? These are the things that are affecting us. How is it possible that I must give my children to an orphanage home to look after my children because I'm failing to look after them? Come on, man, this is not our culture. There's something wrong with it's affecting our culture badly.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Dante, a political activist, always handy to give us information and to give us analysis and perspectives with regards to what's happening in the political scene. Of course, we always feel honored to have you, Mr. Dante. When next we invite you, please make it the way you've done today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, quite interesting conversations we've had, Sharon. We had Mr. Billy Lombe from the Center for Zero Waste, and we were joined by political activist Dante Saunders, and we also had the Health Corner, among other interesting segments. And just now, we are winding up.
Indeed. Thank you so much for choosing Camnet TV. Join us again tomorrow for another Business for Breakfast show. Yeah. Good morning.